fucking lark. Oh shit. What's this on? Hey guys, what's going on? Pronogo here, back from the... Shut up, Pronogo. You're not allowed to talk on this stream. Only Necron's allowed to talk on this stream. The Shambler! What's up? Welcome. I am become cool. I don't know, man. I'm open to suggestions. This is my first few hours back with my computer. Just got it fixed. Or got it fixed. Just fixed it myself. So, I'm down to do whatever. Doesn't make any sense. Am I just a mental man? I don't get it. Hold on. Oh, it did save. What the fuck was it throwing an error for? Who knows? Wait, it didn't save. It's not asking me to save. What? Excuse me? Yeah, stop. Does anybody have any idea what the fuck is going on? This just won't work. Ay, ay, ay. your phone is flipping the fuck out. Maybe it's got my computer's disease. You never know, man. Can't tell if I've just killed my stream accidentally. It looks like I haven't. Alright, cool. We're in the clear, guys. I don't even get why that happened. Oh shit, I gotta unload the RAM usage. There we go. Yeah, some of my shit still isn't quite right, but I'll set it up later on. Some programs missing from this sidebar. It's awful lonely. Yeah, I still have all the files for that, I think. No, I don't have the map file that I made. But I have most of the other stuff. Anyways, what were you gonna say about it? I think I still have it here. Yeah, I don't have the map file itself. Which is unfortunate. It was a pretty cool idea, I think, in general. Fuck, where does Discord install itself to? Oops. Wow. I love that Windows does this. What the fuck? App data? Yeah, that would be interesting to see how they would fucking deal with that. Oh, hey, CR12. Welcome to the stream. Well, it's interesting, too, because obviously the way that the opening part of that campaign was planning out, there were some Dark Templar who were, like, trying to control the Zerg. And then there's our protagonist, Dark Templar, who's, like, incredibly xenophobic and incredibly tribal and patriotic and whatever else. So he has no interest in helping the Zerg. He has no interest in even helping his Kalai brethren. He only has interest in saving his own tribe, and anybody who would support him can, like, you know, whatever. He's, like, not very trusting, but he's also, like, loyal to the people who support him. So he was going to be, like, the guy who was, like, I'm not going to help the Dalam, I'm not going to help... well, they're not even fucking Dalam, they're... Kala. Dalam is, like, a fake SE2 propaganda term invented by retards, but they're just he's not gonna help the Kala, he's not gonna help these fucking traitorous Nerazim guys who are trying to suck Zerg cock. He's just very much removed from that. So I imagine there would probably be a sect of Nerazim, or like one of their tribes that are at least some individuals, because they are fiercely individualistic creatures, which is the whole reason why they split away from the collectivist nature of the Kala. The Nerazim were like, oh, we're not interested in that. So of course there'd be some individuals who are probably like, well, maybe we should help them. So I'm sure you could find a way to have like some Nerazim actively aiding the Kala, similar to how it works out. It's just that this one tribe, which our protagonist leads, eventually goes to Ire with the intent of fucking shit up, and doesn't really... I think the whole idea that CR12 was talking about was that it would happen way before the Zerg even show up in the lore, and thus would be like alternate history, or whatever you want to call it. Hi, Vorguys. Yeah, they would definitely probably wind up using like scorched earth policy shit. I have no doubt about that. This guy wrote Photoshop instead of Photoshop. What a mongoloid. Well, I don't even know what I'm doing with that. Hey, Hoop Thrower. Yeah, it's... I was thinking that this would be less ambient, but it is, what the fuck is it? Carbon-based life forms, which is basically... Hi, we play ambient music only. Not even music. Get them out of here. You know what I'm saying? What did I just link to? I don't even know. It doesn't tell me. Alright. This is... Do I even have that installed here? Who knows? Here we go. Notepad. Well, let's do Notepad++ first. It's gonna be in here. Yeah, that's what I figured, CR12. I was thinking that... I don't know which one, whether or not one of them would be more... I don't know. I think that that's fine too. Hey man. Holy shit, what are you indexing that's taking this fucking long to search? It takes forever to search for anything on this computer right now because it hasn't indexed anything. I probably have to defrag it now that I've moved everything over. Actually, I don't know. Does anybody know how defragmentation or fragmentation in general works? Let's see if we can find our answer to that one. How does a hard drive become fragmented? What is fragmentation? Condition of a disk in which files are divided into pieces scattered around the disk. Occurs naturally. At some point, the operating system needs to store part of its files in non-contiguous clusters. Okay. Huh. So it just happens by nature. So I guess it wouldn't be a problem right now then, is what I'm gleaning. Todd.
Dad.
Holy shit, you just gave out my password for everything. You just doxed me. Yeah, you say that, Shambler, but I think that there's something to be said. Holy shit. God damn it. It found something. Anyways, yeah, there's something to be said about, like, the way that some of that shit works. Like, the way that they would handle an all-out assault on... Or not an all-out assault. Like, they would probably respond to an all-out assault pretty well, but if there was, like, some sort of infiltration going on, especially if you think, like, what if the incredibly xenophobic, Kali-hating Nerazim protagonist is like, well, actually, we're gonna... you know what? We are gonna use the Zerg, but only as a diversion to attack the Kali. Or, since that would sort of go against what we had set for his character, we could instead make it so that the guy who was taking control of the Zerg also wanted to attack the Kali. And our protagonist doesn't really give a shit one way or another, just doesn't want the Zerg endangering Nerazim lives. That's where he takes umbrage with this guy. So, there's a couple of different ways it could work. I forget where the fuck I put those icons. That's definitely not it. So now you're Harbinger on Discord? What do you want your emoji to be?
A Reaper.
A Reaper? I don't think I have one of those. Let me search for Edge emoji. Here, I can give you a rocket ship. That'll look good.
I mean, the Reapers are like metallic squids.
There you go, your rocket ship. That's funny. Alright, can we get rid of this? This doesn't look like I have anything here. Oh wait, maybe I spoke too soon. Oh yeah, there they are. Holy shit. Who's just vibrating me?
DF is apparently a furry tomato now.
What am I doing?
DF is now a furry tomato or something.
Yeah, I don't know what he is. But I'll have to change his shit to donuts too. Who the fuck is my... Jesus Christ. Ah, fuck. What is this? This is just libraries icons. Should have been easy. Wow, what a homo. Who drew this logo? Get them out of here. Who thought this was a good idea? Why is it a chameleon? Just looks like a dumb frog. Yeah. Icky. Whatever. Oops. Oh my god. Stop vibrating. Alright. Well, cool. I'm all set up now. Just need to install half of these fucking programs again.
So, PC recovery going good?
What?
PC recovery going good?
Yeah. I just uploaded an agenda video that sort of covers that. I got saved all of my data. I only moved over some of the stuff. All of my... I thought I moved over everything, but all of my program files stuff, aka where I have all of my maps saved, are still on my old hard drive. So for the time being, we're working with very limited shit. Either the Hydra maps, or basically I just do my own thing. I mean, this whole idea is that we're...
TV1 Omega.
No. The map is gone. It's still on my hard drive. Whatever happened to the hundreds of planets the Protoss Empire had? They were retconned.
You see 3-1 Omega is gone?
It's not gone. It's just on my other hard drive. I have to... So basically, the deal is, my hard drive got to the point where it was so... It's so damaged. I mean, it was. It still is. It's very, very close to just dying outright. And it has almost zero access time, which means that even when it's on a 3.0 enclosure, which is like an external hard drive enclosure, so it's not being treated as a primary hard drive that you're booting from, which puts more load on it. If it's an external, it's like you're plugging it in like you plug in a USB stick, which is almost no load at all. When you plug it in externally, it still has almost no access time, down to the point where it's basically almost gone completely. It took I want to say it took over 24 hours to migrate just not my program's files, which is where most of my data is. So I basically have to get an external enclosure here, because I only had it at a workplace, like an office, that a friend of mine runs a computer shop. So I was able to get most of the stuff with very little cost, thankfully. But basically, this friend of the family, he was looking at it, and he was like, yeah, this could go at any time. You need new hard drives. So I went out and got new hard drives. And then I thought he had migrated all the data, but it took 24 hours, more than that, to migrate just the stuff that I have now on my hard drive, which is, well, that's not including all the shit that I downloaded recently either, but that's nothing. That's like, it's like 200 gigabytes or something. That's terrible, terrible access time. So all that data is still there. As far as I know, the drive is still intact. I just need to get it my own external enclosure. Anyways, what do we got here? Military Templar could use Dark Archons to enslave a small Zerg brood. Yeah, probably. Now, wait, Military Templar, by this you mean Kali? You mean like the Kali Protoss find Nerazim and like force them to do their mind control shit? You know what's really funny is I had the very first campaign idea I ever saw through, to my knowledge I ever had, is back when I was like 10 years old, not even. I was probably 9 years old making maps in Extra Editor. And they were all flat. I wish I still had them. Obviously, I still do have them. They're just on my fucking hard drive. But I wish to fuck that I had those maps, because that would be fucking hilarious to look at. But basically, the way it worked was that it was called Dark Archon Renegades, and it was literally just a bunch of renegade Dark Archons. Or maybe one guy. I don't know. It might have well just been a band of Urazages, even though I didn't know who the fuck that was back then. And these guys mind-controlled a Cerebrum. And, like, Jim Raynor, Sarah Kerrigan, and some other fucks were involved as well. As, like, not being mind-controlled, you played as them. It's just a dumb... Okay, well, the idea could somewhat have merit if it were not the only thing that was substantive at all about it. And it wasn't even focused on, like, it was presented so poorly. I don't know. I don't even know where to begin. All the maps were flat. There was no terrain variation. It was like... Here, hold on. Oh wait, I was browsing for a folder. Why do I have to do this every single time? Oh shit, that's Twilight. Get it out.
We can test some of Hydra if you have to.
Alright, well, this is the map. Just without... it's missing some units. There, I made the map. Terran and Protoss War.
StarCraft 2, the internal flame.
Yeah, that. So there you go. You were saying the evil Dark Templar. Oh, like... That's how they started to enslave the Zerg to begin with, is that they used the Dark Archon. Yeah, I didn't really know. I was thinking that they were going to, like, experiment on them, but I guess it makes more sense for them to just outright mind control them. And, like, even if they're running experiments, that would be how they were securing the Zerg to run those experiments, right? That would make the most sense. So, yeah. What was I doing? What are we doing?
We can test some Hydra maps. You have.
What maps am I gonna test?
I don't know, didn't you make like Terran 1 or something?
No, my computer's been dead for 6 days. What am I gonna do? Oh, you know what? The last thing I was trying to do was do that landing, tie liftoff to a research for UVD Commander, and then my hard drive crashed. So I blame him. He's to blame. That's how that works, right? Fucking oh, hey, holy shit, Ovidio, I didn't even see your message there. I'm sorry, man. How are you? Welcome back. Welcome me back. Welcome me. So what was it? What the fuck? I was... Oh, man, I am ADD today. I wish I could magically make a campaign in a day. That would be fun.
Well, with your skill, you can probably make Terran and Protoss War in a day.
So basically, the way that I've got my schedule lined up. Okay, so tomorrow after work, I'm going to be working on. Well, I might not have time to, but I'm hoping to get work done on Hydra 1, Terran 1. That shouldn't take very long. That should take like a day, or maybe I'll work on it a little bit on Monday or whatever, but it should be fairly simple. I have mapped out the stuff that I want to do. So it's basically like a tutorial map, right? But it's not a tutorial in the sense like, obviously everybody who's playing Hydra knows how to play the game. We would hope. And, what the fuck? Okay. So, basically, it works like this. You know, you'll have the... first of all, I'm going to show off, obviously, the liftoff and landing tech that Nave made possible. So, these command centers will float over, land, make an SCV by themselves, and then the SCV will start mining, or some, I don't know, whatever will happen. They'll land and make an SCV while some tips are appearing. And I can only communicate to the player through dialogue, or through written text without any voiced lines, because I don't want to give the false impression that there's going to be like new characters or new voice lines that I'm making myself, because that doesn't happen anywhere else in the entire campaign. So I wouldn't want to make people think that that was the case, that it was just going to be like that in other maps, because it's not like that anywhere else. So basically, it would just introduce you to the concept of, there's like 4 main things that I wanted to do. The first one is that I wanted to show that the AI, or the maps themselves are designed such that you're supposed to use a high, like put a high priority on macro-focused play, unless it's a micro map, obviously. And then, you know, basically it would be like, oh, you've got, you know, limited resources usually, and you'll have to expand outwards, and if left unchecked, the AI will take your expansion spots, and you've got to be on the lookout for that. And then the second thing was going to be like the AI uses upgrades, defends more fervently, attacks more, not randomly, but uses the terrain to their advantage more. They'll attack your expansions if you leave them undefended, and yada yada yada. So like basically going over how the AI has been drastically improved and is significantly more tactical, and is going to offer you and your co-op partner a worthy threat. And then in the third point was just going to be about AI allies. I'll probably add like some shit down here in the bottom right hand corner about you know, with like the NAI controlled set of starports that make Wraith attacks or something. I don't know. And basically they would, you know, the tip would explain that you have AI allies in some maps. You can choose to either attempt to save them, in which case they will reward you by having extra attacks, like basically bolstering your attacks against the rest of the AI because they send attacks. So they'll help you out in that respect. Or you can use them as an extra buffer where the AI will attack them sometimes as well as attacking you. So they sort of split the AI's focus and as such take some pressure off of you in the early game as long as they stay alive. So that's mainly like what the first three tips are, and then the fourth tip is just going to be like explaining that there's like a modified tech tree stuff, so there's new abilities and new upgrades that you can get on some of the units, and that you should expect your AI enemies to make use of these upgrades as well. Not that so that you are reminded again of the efficacy of the hostile AI. So that's mostly like the purpose of the tutorial. I imagine it won't take very long. It'll be like, you know, a short 5 to 10 minute exercise, and then you know, it'll just say like, this concludes the Hydra tutorial. Feel free to complete the map by destroying all enemy hatcheries. Which will, I guess, also introduce you to the idea that there are no destroy everything maps, and it's been converted into a victory condition of destroying enemy production structures, primarily. So that'll probably be worked into like a fifth tip, I guess. So those like 5 tenets of explaining the design philosophy of Hydra's maps and AI are going to, and mod, I guess, you know, tech tree, are basically going to serve to explain or set the expectations for players so that they don't think that basically they don't think that they're going to walk in and it's going to be just as easy as the basic campaigns, or that it won't have a lot of changes. Obviously the tutorial's optional, you can just skip and experience it firsthand, but yeah, there you go. That's the overview of the tutorial. And let's see. I'll just center the screen here on this picturesque scene that Vorga has made while I go to the bathroom. Bye. Coming back in eventually. You'll all see.
Hmm?
Is that a yes?
What?
Alright, let's check out in the chat. They have a warp matrix which can teleport shit anywhere. Was that mentioned anywhere before StarCraft 2? Probably not, right? Well, Ire was like 8 times the size of Earth as well, and most of it was not actively settled by Protoss. So that tells you a lot, because that tells you that they definitely have, like, they must have colonies elsewhere that then returned, sort of like the Zerg returned to defend Char. Those colonies had Protoss that returned to defend Ire. Okay, does anybody remember this is like a conspiracy theory that I have. Is that Blizzard actually just removed thoughts from, or removed sentences from the manual after a certain age, because both myself and a very confused man who used to be a friend of mine, we both thought we saw this in the manual, that Protoss come into existence due to the ether in Ire's atmosphere or something. And that was, or like they come into existence in the ether? Like basically they were born due to the atmosphere. And I was like, oh, that's interesting. It sounds like the Xel'Naga like did something special using Cassia crystals or something that keep getting referenced everywhere in the manual or in the wiki. I swear to God, I read this in the fucking in the manual. And this other person also says that they thought that they saw that in the manual. And nobody else, it's not in the manual, and nobody else remembers it or thinks about it. But how can two completely different people have the same thought in their heads that they thought they read in the menu? That's insane. There's no way. I mean, it doesn't make any sense. But when I read it, I was like 12. Or when I thought I read it, I was like 12. I swear to God, I've read come into existence around the ether of Ire. The ether... Alright, it would be... Let's see. See what a search turns up. Missing ether. No. I don't know. Whatever, it doesn't matter. It's a complete fabrication of my head. I don't know, man. It just seems so bizarre that two different people with completely different backgrounds would have the same thought that is completely wrong, that they thought they read somewhere. But whatever. They, I can't remember what the fuck the manual said about them. I mean, their evolution seems really retarded because they are supposedly they photosynthesize. But they don't have to photosynthesize because there are some Protoss that just don't need, that can go without sunlight for years. So I don't know if that means that they have to come. It's like sort of like a dolphin going, you know, not having to rise to the surface and jump up so that they can take a breath, like they can hold it for a while. It's like that, but they can do it for years. So I don't know if it's just that they don't, some of them don't have to at all. Like, it seems like really lazy, inconsistent, incongruent ideas being thrown into the Protoss race. Yeah, they photosynthesize, so you would think plant-based probably do something with spores. But they wear loincloths, they have nipples, probably have belly buttons. So what the fuck is the point of that, right? And why? I mean, I accept that there are things that won't make sense to human science. But I feel like maybe this is just me, but I view it as sort of lazy piece of shit writing to say, well, it puzzles human scientists. Like, yeah, but it wouldn't puzzle Protoss scientists, right? They would know about their own biology. So they would know why they have this shit, and they would probably explain it. I don't know, it just seems so dumb to me to have it be like that. But whatever. Who knows? What are we doing? What are we,
You were gonna learn CCs.
Yeah, but I'm not working on Hydra. This is the community campaign map night thing. We gotta work together, guys. We gotta work together to make something great for everybody. Hee hee.
Doing the edgy anti-hero?
No, I can't. There's so much work. I don't even have Photoshop installed. So I definitely cannot. CR12 thing with Crazy Nerazim. I don't have the original map that I was working on, but I can probably do a different map. It's an indie company after all, yeah. Absolutely. Why do I have to do this every single time? This didn't happen with Hitler.
Don't copy me.
I was gonna take the fall for that one. I was getting the downfall, to be precise. Reference game incredibly on point. Nobody knows what. Nobody can even recognize what I'm saying, which makes it all the better. Yeah. Oh, okay.
So what now, the Renegade Nerazim?
Well, the first map of it was going to be like probably micro-focused. Probably a micro mission. And it was going to be like him, the main guy, discovering the existence of the presence of Zerg. I also like the prison escape idea, but I don't want to have too many micro missions. They probably wouldn't have like an organized prison complex, and because just like they probably also wouldn't have a lot of like they're more nomadic than that, right? They don't really settle down as much. Though that begs the question, what the fuck is Bacilla and Flagstones and Crushed Rock and all that shit? What is that doing there? Now, Shakuris was like a mix between... I mean, obviously we only ever saw Twilight being used for Shakuris's... like... We used Twilight for Shakuris in Blizzard's campaigns, is what we saw. But I think there's desert on that planet too, right? It's depicted as a more, like, the desert tile set is what it would look more like if you looked at the cutscene. Yeah, I mean, they settled on Shakuris, but didn't they just roam around? You know what? That moral compass character you're talking about could probably be like, See, this is interesting, because I have like, now I have 2 different campaign ideas, or old campaign projects of mine that I could see, I could take stuff from those to integrate it into this if I wanted to. The first one that I was sort of taking some cues from was a campaign called Decimus, and it had multiple acts, but the first act was called Stray Sheep, and it was about the Nerazim, what they were doing after Aldaris had his rebellion, had his insurgency in the penultimate mission of the Brood War Protoss campaign, The Stand. Oh, okay, that makes more sense. So in Stray Sheep, we have a main character named Monel, M-O-N-Y-L-L, and Monel is aggressively opposed to the presence of the Kala, but didn't act militarily until this insurgency, in which case he immediately started lashing out, and he was like expelled from his tribe as a result of his actions, because he did so without the like decree of the main, like, whatever his tribe's council was. Like, they didn't allow him to, they didn't sanction it, so they just kicked him right out. However, one of his contacts was a council, like one of his close friends was a Nerazim that was on the council, and this guy was like helping him still. And on top of it, because of his immediate like opposition, military opposition against these treasonous people, he was like gained military support and followers from other people who were disenfranchised, other Nerazim who were disenfranchised by this. So he had like a growing army, and this is where you start out small, and you like he grew his military forces by way of like action against the Kali, and obviously he had still to fight the Zerg as well. So I was sort of like sampling from that idea in some ways, because there's another Nerazim focused campaign that I had come up with. So I was trying to see where I could take some cues there. And then when it comes to, what's the other one? This one that I just had the idea to start sampling some work from was called The Artificer. It's a more recent campaign than Stray Sheep. And it was about this like war hero, this storied veteran of the Conclave, who was sent to Braxis in the middle of the whole like Tassadar goes rogue thing, And one of the other executors that was, or the sub-officers, whatever, one of Tacitar's subordinates, also shared Tacitar's concerns about killing off all the humans, all the Terrans. So this guy disobeyed orders as well. Now, the main character was sent to deal with this guy, to dispatch him. But somewhere along the line, he like secures the loyalty of a sort of moral compass character, similar to what Shambler was talking about. And then you had I was just having the idea that like one of the main ideas of that plot was that through the direct result of the protagonist's actions, this supporting character who is like loyal and looks up to him, is younger than him, he like follows orders and dies a horrible death that didn't need to happen through this guy's, the protagonist's short-sightedness. And that's like this lasting psychological trauma or whatever as a result of it. Or you know, he like feels like shit because he did it. He's the one who basically led this guy to death and it didn't need to happen. So that's like, I was thinking like we could have a moral compass character, and then it's sort of like what they were trying to do in Warcraft 3 with Muradin, and you know how Arthas just leaves him behind and it literally costs Muradin his life to follow him, except Muradin, I mean this guy, unlike Muradin, wouldn't show up 2 missions before the end of the fucking campaign and do nothing and offer nothing of value and just not be a character, basically. So unlike Blizzard, we would tell present this character with a little bit more gravitas. Well, the Nerazim don't have the Kala, so that would be like the main thing. They're very individualistic, and that's why you can treat the Nerazim a bit more like humans, where they can keep secrets from one another and have just some acts of deception. Yeah, I mean, none of the Protoss campaign actually should have happened, probably, because there would not have been any problems, or there should not have been any problems. Like, there shouldn't have been any miscommunications between Protoss, because they should just be able to translate thoughts, you know? It's not like I have to, right now I have to explain I have a thought in my head, I have to put it into words, and speak it out loud. So I have to involve like 3 different subroutines of my brain in order to get a thought across. Obviously, if you're just transferring thoughts, it's like transferring files from one hard drive to another. You're just doing that with thoughts between brains. So it's incredibly easy, and there's never any misconceptions, because you immediately share like a dictionary, so you open the files that you're transferring with the same programs, you'll always get the same results. So there will not ever be any problems with like misinterpretations. Now, I think that makes it a lot more bland in general to live lives, but it also saves a lot of lives in general, probably, because you don't have any more misconceptions. However, obviously Blizzard didn't show this. Yeah, Aldaris could disagree. No, I don't even think Aldaris could disagree, though. Because the whole idea is that this is basically like a pseudo-hive mind, the Kala. There's no individuality amongst Protoss if they're linked to the Kala, if the Kala is what Blizzard is trying to sell it as. Yeah, like the only instance where you wouldn't reach the same conclusion if you had the same thoughts, aka the same files, is if your hardware, right, your hard drive or your file system or something was corrupted, or aka your brain was damaged, basically. If you had some sort of defect, maybe that could be the case, but there's no evolutionary reason for that to be like widespread. So you'd have like some crazy Protoss that wouldn't read these files correctly. I could see that being the case, but that certainly would not be the leader of the fucking Conclave, Aldaris. He would not be one of the top fucking adjudicators, right? Like, literally born into the Judicator caste. You wouldn't have this guy in power if he had a damaged fucking hard drive, right? A damaged brain. I don't think it's compelling writing, unless you're designing something that's not meant to be reasoned with on a human level, like the Zerg. I actually think that's great for the Zerg. If they just translate their thoughts, if they don't have any individuality, right? That's what the Zerg are. That's basically what they are. Blizzard wanted to have individuality. They basically wanted to have their cake and eat it too, where they wanted to have individuality with the Kala still intact, even though the Kala is a hive mind and translates thoughts one-to-one, and if there's no fucking brain defects, you'd never have issues like what we're talking about, where Aldaris has a disagreement with Tassadar. There would never be a disagreement unless there was a problem of mismatch with the fucking firmware version of your brain or something. If you didn't get the latest Kala update, because you got to pay EA microtransactions. I don't know how the fuck it works, but the point is, if you're just translating thoughts one-to-one, there's never any misunderstanding. You always have the same thoughts. Like, you're basically just translating information. You're not translating an analysis, really. Like, you could. Analyses could be translated, but you can't, like, I don't even think you can have an opinion that's different from another person's opinion this way, because you'd be using the same hardware again, and you'd be interpreting the same files. Yeah, I mean, it's never, like, a video makes a good point here where he says, like, maybe it's cloud and non-cloud. Yeah, maybe it's, like, local storage and online storage or something. I could see that being the case, but it's never explained as that. It's never explained as all cloud either, but obviously they have to be able to connect to one another because they're translating thoughts. That's how they communicate. Right, because they don't have all of the same thoughts. But I see no reason... I don't know. It doesn't make any sense to me. There's a really interesting conversation happening. Well, I don't know if interesting is the right word for it. But I have this thread called What Kind of Campaign Do You Want to Play? And for the last page or so, these two guys, Nude Raider and Mithras Gnosis, have been going back and forth, not in an aggressive way, just discussing Protoss in general. I haven't really, obviously with my computer shit, I haven't had time to butt in myself. But they basically are talking about their biology, and one of the things that Mithras mentions is that, like, Protoss should think and act just as inhumanly as Zerg do. Not in the same direction, of course, but the fact that they have constant telepathic communication and species-wide empathy should render their psychology inhuman. For example, their constant telepathy empathy, Protoss cannot willfully deceive one another, whereas human psychology and civilization is built around deception. Protoss automatically know the location of all the Protoss within range and constantly exchange sensory information to allow them to coordinate their activities. Human beings are blind and deaf in comparison. The only time communism works for humans is in small tribes, since the brain can only empathize with 150 people at a time and stop caring beyond that point. Protoss lack this limitation due to their telepathic network, so they can expand communism and cover their entire species. He's just putting forth an example where the Protoss would be able to do something that humans are fundamentally incapable of. And I think that's a pretty good example. That's if we take for granted that Protoss can never turn off their, as long as they're connected to the Kala and have those nerve cards, they can't turn that part of their physiology off. They can't make it stop working. It's like, you'd think it's like a heartbeat, right? You have to really, really try and master your body in order to stop or even slow your heartbeat, right? I don't even think it's possible to stop it. Maybe it is. But, like, it would be like stopping your blood from circulating, right? Or, you know, stopping your breathing. You wouldn't be able to do it for very long, even if you could do it at all. It seems like it's always instant. I mean, they speak, but I think when they speak in Protoss, like in briefings or in dialogue, it's mostly for the sake of having humans playing this game and not having a neurological interface for the game to transmit thoughts directly into your head when you speak to these guys, right? Because humans aren't kitted out for that. So I think that's really why that's happening. I don't know. They started off without the Kala, but then they had it. To me, it seems really confusing to try and make a special case either way. Right. Well, the Protoss aren't speaking English. They aren't thinking in English. They're thinking thoughts. And then they just send those thoughts to people. I don't know how they communicate with, like, Marines. You know, I don't know how a Zealot, for example, can just send thoughts to a Marine. Is a human being a non-psychic human being non-exceptional human being, even capable of accepting thoughts, interfacing in that sense. Obviously, we see that because, Artanis and Stukov have a conversation, so that's obviously the case, right? Raynor has a conversation with Tassadar, so they can, but does that make sense? Did the Zerg ever actually speak to Terrans? I don't think so. In fact, I don't even think that the Zerg ever speak to Protoss. Or maybe there's like besides Kerrigan, obviously. I'm not talking about her. She has a mouth. And is psionic. So.
Well, you have Andraxus threatening the Overmind.
I have who with the Overmind?
Andraxus threatening the Overmind.
Listen, Insurrection and Retribution are not real.
Insurrection was written by Blizzard.
Yeah? You know what else was written by Blizzard? Exactly! Literally name any game including StarCraft and this discussion is over. Yeah, but they don't speak, is what I'm saying. Like, yeah, I mean, obviously the Overmind can interface with Zeratul. I'm not saying it's not possible. I'm just saying I don't think it ever happens. There's like a complete aside point. I know that the Zerg never... I don't think they ever talk with Terrans. Again, not including Kerrigan, who is only speaking with any of them after she's infested, I guess.
Yeah, can you help me with something?
What's up?
I tried to change the color of Riskable computer, but it didn't work. In the map itself, it was changed from turquoise to green, but in game it still was turquoise.
You want to DM me the map?
You have it. It's Insurrection 24.
Oh. I don't have any of those down there. Just DM me.
You have them. You played them the other day.
Yeah, before my computer crashed and I had to re-download it. I don't have any of my program files.
Was that also in the hard drive you're still trying to recover?
Huh?
Is that in the hard drive you're still trying to recover?
Yeah. I'm gonna get it eventually. Like, I have to re-download, the Phoenix and a couple of those.
Since you don't have the mod now, I'll pass you the unmodded version. I tried in both and neither worked.
Oh god. Should have hit download a zip. What a disaster.
For that you can probably go to ModDB, right? Especially since your version there is probably outdated.
What the fuck? What is... Oh, I know what it's called. I don't know why it's down. All that shit. Seems pretty unnecessary. Why does it download it 2 folders? What a disaster. trying to do. Amazing. Well, is it still an SEM in your version? That would be why.
Yes, it's an SE. Does it have to be an SEX for the color change?
Absolutely.
Why?
Because the reason why color changing works is because you have the green color, which is only in Brood War.
But I tried other color and it didn't work.
Yeah, you have to place a medic and then save it, or any Brood War unit, save it, and then delete it afterwards. That's why it's best to not ever make any SCM now. SCM is just a garbage format. Never make it. Never use it.
But I tried pale yellow and it didn't work either.
Listen, still haven't sent me the map, so. I'm trying to figure out exactly what I'm gonna do. You know what I'm saying? I think this is gonna be...
There.
Yeah, this could be the third map, which would be that map that Shambler was talking about, where, like, they get arrested or whatever, put on trial, or a pending trial. And they'd be like taken to Talamatros, maybe? What am I doing in this? Which one am I changing?
Player 3 to green. I tried the pale yellow and it didn't work either.
Yeah, the reason you can't do it as an SCM.
But yeah. It's supposed to work without Brood War.
It's not going to work without Brood War. If you want to change any color, you will not be able to do it without making it a Brood War mold. I don't know why it matters if it works on without Brood War.
Well, the entire campaign product without Brood War.
Well, aren't you enabling Brood War units?
They are enabled if you break with Brood War, but you can play without Brood War.
Oh.
Because it was without Brood War originally.
Well, you can make a decision. You can keep it the way it is and not change any of the colors, or you can make it Brood War only for that map, or for all maps. The only alternative would be, oh, don't even think that would work.
I mean, I know you can hex edit it and put it whatever color.
No, probably not. Maybe. Might just not work in general if you're not replacing the one in broodwar.mpq, which is not accessed unless you use Brood War. I don't know how any of that works. Could you imagine? Where is my zealot suit? I'm putting you on Craigslist, bitch. There is like blatant misogyny on Funga's stream right now. He called female alien the B word. Unacceptable. Bad. Bad. Men are kids. Yeah, the whole Craigslist thing was that. This is kind of a small map now that I think about it. Oh yeah, I gotta change DF to donuts. So would this be almost exclusively, well, this would probably be exclusively a Nerazim versus Nerazim map, right? Where the moral compass character has to reconcile taking the lives of his fellow Nerazim to save the main dude from being executed.
I'll try hex editing. If that doesn't work, I'll leave it as SCM.
You mean you're just going to modify the tunit.pcx?
I don't really know about that stuff. I'll have to learn now just to do that.
It's in game / is the path. It's in stardat and brewdat. You just want the stardat one, maybe? Well, we could either do what I was talking about with the Artificer, where the moral compass dies as a result of the anti-hero's actions. This like serves as a wake-up call or something. Depends on where we want to go to take the anti-hero. What quest we want to give him. How far down the rabbit hole will he go? I don't know. He could stay behind, not as an enemy or an ally, just say, you know, go, I can't follow you. Sort of like what Jaina did, I guess. We wanted to go down that path. Yeah, it'll be harder for the moral compass to rationalize for sure.
So how do I make TLB green in this exclusively in this mode?
Trying to remember the limits of SCM. Probably have to change the color teal and make it hard set to green. So that means any other teal player would be green as well.
So I can't do it without changing to SCX.
You can't do it without changing it to SCX, or if you wanted to use to modify the PCX file, you could make it so that one of the, like player 8, for example, is there any color that's not used in Insurrection? Any default color, like yellow, white, brown?
All colors are used.
Purple?
Yeah.
So if that's unused, change purple to green in the PCX.
No, purple is also used, I mean.
Oh.
All colors are used.
All colors are used? Yeah, then you have to make it an SCX if you want to change the color.
But then, just for this map, for this, rescue this layer. And I wanted to make it green for like lores or whatever. Because this brood is in the manual and it says, oh, it's green, but
well. Your food.
Yeah, like turquoise is a shade of green, so whatever.
Yeah, no worries.
Still bothered by Blizzard saying turquoise is teal.
Well, we could make it so that the anti-hero just maybe is not in a position to actually fight back again, like to reconcile that, right? Like maybe he's like about to evacuate or about to leave, and then like the moral compass shows up with some other members of the tribe that were not pleased with the turn of events, you know. They're like, yeah, we're not interested. You're going without us, or something. I don't know, something like that. I don't know. There's a couple of different ways we could go about it. I'm not supremely concerned about the fate of them right now, since we're still a bit a ways away from that. I thought that guy was gonna say void. Just got triggered.
It's Necron in disguise.
Yeah, Necron's the singer of this. I don't know what the fuck this band is.
So you just need to make the alternate ending to the third campaign just to add Vasily.
I should just borrow Vasily for that. Oh, well if it isn't a talented commander. I don't even remember what else he said besides the slap.
Exterminate!
A beast. What a gig. Why does he say? I still don't understand to this day why he says that. He told me he did multiple recording sessions. Maybe he just... Maybe it was all for Boris, and then he did one for himself. So fuck that, I'm not doing any more. These single takes, that's what's going in.
The slap just gets the cake. Why?
I don't know, I still don't understand, because it's like... Not only does that... I don't even know how to describe. Basically, it's like... I just want to hear that. No, it is not for the operation, though. How does he say operational like that? Come on!
Corpse.
Yeah, corpse, by the way. Science corpse. I did like the vibe it gave off with the, like when Boris was talking about the like the way that they were discussing what they had with them, where they were talking about like we still have some Zerg broods in the area or whatever. I thought that was kind of cool just because of the fact that you never play as the UED while they're controlling the Zerg, so you don't like. It's just something that I've never seen in a campaign before, like obviously with voice acting or anything. Like somebody saying, "We have these Zerg here. They're going to help us. Eat them." I don't know. It's cool. And then Necron slap. Yeah, I like. That was really funny. Like, I'm sure you'll still find the seat in this electric chair or something. I don't know. Something about.
Do you miss the ending when the HQ gets destroyed? Boris just tells you, "You're going to Siberia, you rat."
Incredible. Yeah, I should listen to all of this dialogue. Oh wait, I don't have it. Oh yeah, I do. I think I deleted it. Yeah, I did. Fuck.
I can send it to you.
Oh, you mean the multi-race? Sure, well, I still have the Google Drive unless it's not up. Oh shit, I think Necron rejoined these discords. He finally decided to come back from the void. Not to speak with me, obviously.
Wait, this is over 8 megabytes, so I can send it through Discord because stupid.
Because $50 microtransaction. Wait, what is it? It's like, I don't know what. $14.99 or something a month.
Yeah, like for $4.99 a month. It increases the limit to 50 megabytes, which is still stupid.
Ah! What the fuck is happening? Why is it keep doing this? Amazing. He just titles them 1 through 10 and V1 through V11? What is, their age? First one. What is that line of dialogue? 10.
Speaking between the three of us, I'd be surprised if you wouldn't get a promotion for this. It's not yet time for celebration, though. We have to reinforce Admiral Dugal and his troops to the west.
That's right. Men, prepare to move out.
Don't worry, Colonel. I'm sure you'll find a warm seat somewhere even after this grand failure. An electric chair, perhaps?
What a voice that is! Why? Don't worry, Colonel. I can't do it. There's no way I can even try to listen to Vasily.
Such crude machinery is nothing faced with the might of the United Elf Electorate.
Wow. Thanks, Mr. Lee.
Everything's ready. Men, leave your posts and evacuate in accordance with our plan. Our brutes are to stay behind us and cover our escape.
What is that? It's like he's forcing a lisp into his own fucking brain cells. How is that possible? I don't know what he was doing something really weird, contorting his face in a certain way that would make that really, that's insanity. Crazy shit. This map is way too dense. Get me out of here. You'd like to see more campaigns where a single AI controls more than one faction. I assume you're talking about like Orange in that campaign controlled Zerg and Terran. Is that what you were mentioning? Or what you were talking about there? I don't know what accent. It's a dog accent.
Yeah, by the way, the thing with recovering a town hall instantly rescuing all units for that faction is some hard-coded nonsense, right?
Probably because you said it affects bunkers and nothing else affects bunkers. Like units in bunkers. So it's probably something very hard-coded. Where I go, I must also hard-code. Well, it's really hard to do multiracial AI scripts. They're very difficult to make consistent. From what I remember, because obviously Necron was working on them for a while for Siege of Torhal. So I don't know what goes into them, I just know that, like, I think Protoss with any other race just doesn't work. Due to some bullshit. Probably hard-coded.
Yes, aquí they just tried to run all three scripts for Insane for one AI that was like 7 versus 1, and it was so sad. Like, why doesn't this work?
Yeah, they would refuse to work alongside Heathenous.
Only one of them executes, the others are ignored.
Oh, hey, Electron, welcome. I mean, the AI handles it okay if it's Terran and Zerg. I don't know if that's like they had to do some weird special checks because of what they wanted to do to slay the beast, and then because they never combined Protoss and any other race, they didn't do the special fucking hard-code nonsense bullshit. Like, I don't know how, like, or why it malfunctions for Protoss. I just know that it does from what Necron was talking about. But, I'm no longer the dog whisperer, so maybe he found a way to do it in his journey as a woofer.
Yes, you said Necron rejoined what?
I think he rejoined one of the Dave Reminders. Because he shows up as tagged in the Mapcraft submission.
I think that keeps letting it from when you...
Oh, maybe not. Because I can't tag him again. I don't know if that's just because I'm blocked. I don't think he has me blocked. I think he just removed me.
It's not here.
I mean, it won't show offline members because there's like over 100 members in Discord.
No, right. I mean the members and where user management, and he's not here.
Oh, okay. So he's not. Why does it still have him tagged? That's weird. Maybe it keeps them tagged even regardless.
Well, there's 70 members that haven't been online in the server for SCBW.
It's not a grudge. Basically, so there's this concept that I came up with. I've had a few friends who, at one point or another, have just cut off all contact with me without any warning, without explaining why they're cutting off contact. They just go dark completely. And I never hear from them again, or if I do, it's many, many months or even years later. Wow, that is annoying. Who would ever design an album where the closer does that? Go fuck yourself. Anyways, there's some people in my life, some friends, people I've worked on projects with, who have decided that it's prudent to just fuck right off and not talk. It's like, I think it's called ghosting by most people. Most people consider it something called ghosting, where you just don't ever talk to the person again. You remove yourselves from you remove them from your life, etc., etc., without warning and without explanation. So it just leaves that person wondering what the fuck is going on, whether or not they're responsible. I mean, I'm fairly self-confident and also self-reflective, so it doesn't really bother me as much as it used to at an emotional level. Basically, I call this thing voiding. So when I say somebody has descended into the void, or somebody voided me, it's like a joke, sort of, but it's also basically them doing that, them ghosting me. So Necron, it's funny because Necron actually said he's like, I don't think, unless you did something to warrant it, I don't think I would ever void anybody, you included. I was like, wow, that's real refreshing to hear. That was like a few weeks before the avoiding happened. I thought that was exceptionally funny when I had some time to think about it. But yeah, that's basically what happened. Yeah, see, the thing is, if it's happened more than a few times, the thing is, it's only happened 3 times. But besides Necron, the other 2 people that it's happened with have done it multiple times each. And I've realized that it's because I'm allowing them to. Like, when they're being... Like, after they fucking calm down from their void frenzy or whatever prompted them to leave in the first place. Once they sort of exit that, and they make contact again, I, generally speaking, welcome them back, in a sense. Just because I don't really hold grudges. I don't think I'm that kind of person. I don't, like, hold on to a lot of shit. So, I'm like, alright, you gave me some sort of explanation as to why it happened, so sure, whatever, we'll be friends again, or we'll talk again, or we'll work on projects again, or whatever the case may be. I mean, I just don't think I should do that anymore. If you've demonstrated that you're going to be that kind of person, I think I just decide, I don't want that kind of person to be associated with me. I don't want to spend my time helping a person like that who could just fuck right off. Especially, what really gets me, now he's back. He never really left anywhere. He just decided to fuck off. We had a disagreement. Like, I know what prompted him leaving to some extent, because we had a disagreement on the balance of a map. And that escalated into him saying that it was obvious to him that we couldn't work together, and had been obvious for a while. Now, I know that sometimes we would have discussions and debates and disagreements, but I never thought much of it personally. And he never voiced any of his concerns until sort of saying that he had concerns without explaining what they were, and then voiding me. So I never got context, is the thing. But it wouldn't bother me as much if it was just a friend or a close colleague or something, and they fuck off, and that's it. But if I'm working on a project with you, I expect you to be reliable, or I wouldn't have chosen to work on a project with you. I think that's fairly reasonable and self-evident, and I don't think I need to justify that sort of expectation generally. Most people understand that if you engage in some sort of cooperative project with somebody, it's because you want to work with them, because you want them to do some work and you to do some work, and that's the main goal. But I've had it happen several times now. The last successive 3 voidings that have happened were all when I was working on projects with people. Like when I was working on Consummate, I was also working on helping a friend with the StarCraft 2 project, and then they voided me. And then I was working on a streaming project with a different one of my friends, who I was very close with, and they voided me. Like after like extensive discussions about if we start doing this, we can't stop doing this until we're both agreed that it's no longer feasible. And like we have to have a dialogue or a discussion if we want to lower the streaming hours or if we want to decide to do something completely different. We both thought that there was like promise in this field. We could do something. We could make some cool stuff. And then like extensive discussions. We both feel we're ready to do this. We're ready to commit to it. We do like 2 days of streaming, or 2 weeks of streaming rather. And he misses like 2 of those days that we're supposed to stream out of those 2 weeks, and then fucks off and voids. So it's like, okay, that's another project that I'm working on with somebody that's gone now. That I can no longer, it's like exclusively projects that I couldn't do on my own, or they would be irrevocably changed and not really resemble the original project. Now Necron voided me in the middle of working on Hydra, and I could still work on Hydra. I'm obviously still working on Hydra. So at least there's that, but it's just really tiresome to work on stuff with people and have them just leave. Without explaining, especially. Like, I understand if I did something to warrant you leaving or you deciding to cut all ties, but as self-aware as I am, I can't find a reason why having a disagreement over a map's balance, or having several disagreements even, is evidence that two people are not compatible to work with one another. And like, if Necron comes by this video, or if he's just pondering his existence, I mean, I don't have a grudge against anybody, but I don't think I'm willing to spend time engaging in working on a project with somebody after they've already proven untrustworthy to dedicate time doing that in because they've abandoned a project. You know what I mean? I mean, it's like, there have been times where I've been tempted to cut off contact with people because it's a lot easier to not face the problem and just ignore them or block them or whatever. And you know what, if that's what you want to do, that's like, I'm not making a value judgment on someone's character. I'm just deciding I don't want to work with people who do that. That's all. And if you're not able to commit time-wise, that's fine too. Like, I'm not, again, it's not like you're a shitty person because you can't commit. Like, something comes up in your real life, or you just decide you don't want to. You don't have to have an excuse. But the whole idea is that we spend several hours or days or weeks or months or years working on something only for one person to leave in the middle of production. You know, one of the 2 people working on it just fucks off. And not just, I don't want to work on this anymore. More like, bye, except not even with saying bye. You're just gone. You just wake up and they're in the wind somewhere. So it's, I don't really, again, I don't want to make this out as like an attack on, or like a character analysis of Necron or any of the other people that have voided. It doesn't matter to me enough to sit there and do that, you know? And honestly, I don't know Necron well enough to do a proper character analysis anyways. Like, I've known him for a few months. We worked on projects together. I helped him out. He helped me out. I'm grateful for what he did for Hydra and in Consummate and improving my understanding of AI in general. Like, very grateful to the guy. Really think he knows what he's doing. He's dedicated enough to test a lot of stuff out and experiment, and I have a firm belief that the StarCraft Brood War modding scene and remastered modding scene will be improved in terms of the quality of projects that can be created as a direct result of his involvement in it. So for that, I mean, he's already done more than a lot of other people have in the scene, you know, in the past. You know, he's the one out there testing shit and enabling people like Knave and Poiquert and Suicidal Insanity to improve the tools that already exist or create new tools, like what Knave did with some Ace that allows us to pack remastered EXEs, and you know, stuff like that maybe would have come into existence anyways, but it wouldn't have been updated to the same extent without people like Necron. And for that, I'm always going to be grateful, even if I don't talk to that person again, or even if I don't want to work with that person personally. So I don't want to paint an entirely negative picture of somebody, especially if I don't fucking know them anyways, as a character, as an individual, and only know them from working with them. Over an admittedly small period of time as well. So, I don't want anybody to think that, oh, this guy says that this person did this, so they must be an asshole or something. Like, that's not the picture I'm trying to paint. I don't have enough information to make any sweeping generalizations and have them be accurate. So I wouldn't want to say that shit in general. Well, I'm sure it's it sort of goes back to that Protoss talk we were having earlier, right? Like, we don't communicate our thoughts instantaneously, and even when we do communicate our thoughts eventually, we're not always understood exactly, right? I think that's a good example. So I'll link it back to that. To come full circle. Oh, whatever happened with your computer, man? Is it just gone for good, or is it just like mine, where it's taking a vacation until you can get the parts to fix it or whatever? Yeah, if you have the error code itself, it might be helpful. Battery? That sounds like a complicated procedure. I also heard you can just, like, can't you just wash your motherboard in the sink or something? If it's dirty? I heard that from somebody. I don't know if that's true. Never looked it up. It's a watch battery? Goofballs. Well, yeah, of course you would let it dry. It just seems really goofy. Was it like an actual watch battery that I can walk down to a fucking retail store and pick up, or would I have to go out and get something ordered from Newegg or something? Like, is the battery always custom built for the particular motherboard you have? Oh shit, you hear that, CR12? It's being outloaded. You gotta get up with the times, man. So is it true that you're supposed to reformat your hard drive every time you get a new motherboard? Like, if I redid my computer's insides a while back, but I never reformatted my hard drive, obviously, until recently when I got new hard drives. I suppose that counts. And the upgrade included new motherboard. Everybody was saying, everybody on these like online shit would be like, yeah, you gotta reformat your drive, reinstall Windows. I'm too lazy to do reformats, honestly. It doesn't take so much time, but it does take some time. And it's not a process you can just leave running. Like, you You need to be on your computer, using your computer to guide it through shit. At least in my experience. Oh, well, that's a lot easier than fucking reformatting your entire drive, though. I don't even remember what my new motherboard is, let alone what my old one is. I guess it doesn't matter, though. I have new hard drives now. Yeah, I saw that option there when I was installing Windows 10 earlier today. That's a pretty useful option. Shit, what time is it? What the fuck? I never would have guessed that this actually is a thing. Shows your voice activity in the fucking system. Shit, that's crazy. Goofballs over at Discord finding the most goofy things to update instead of fixing their goddamn program. So how's that Facebook conversation going up to her? Maybe it's still here. That is a good joke over to you. Oh, shit. Windows 10 isn't super complicated to fix, usually. Some shit can fuck you up, but that's basically the case with every operating system. I don't think I've ever run into that line of logic. Hope there are. I don't think anybody's. I don't think I've ever been told that I should be thankful to get people to play my shit, you know? I mean, I am thankful that they do it. It's very nice of them. But I presume that they're only playing it because they enjoy the work. That's usually a safe assumption. Well, I have Windows 10 installed on one of my hard drives, and then I have a separate hard drive that's going to be used as backup and file storage. Jack Smith. Welcome to the tail end of the stream. How are things? Seems like a fair reprisal. I mean, I have no problem with criticism, but, well, obviously it depends on the caliber of the criticism itself and how useful it is. I don't know how I can make it so that links work. Like, there's no option. Enable links. Try posting the link now, see if it'll go through. Listen, the thing about having people take your assets or take your work to try and make work of their own is that it still requires them to do work. It's the number one thing they don't want to do most of the time. So, on the plus side, if they manage to make something worthwhile, maybe it'll serve as inspiration or eventually be picked up by somebody else who will finish it. You never know. Alex is the Shambler in Jamborino's Discord. I don't know why it won't let me do that. It's weird. Wish you all the luck in getting your computer back up and running, man. Hope hopefully it's not too complicated. Yeah, you shouldn't worry about the data. It doesn't seem like your hard drive is compromised. Just in a sense where you're gonna worry about losing data. If I can get my data back, I'm pretty sure you'll be. That's how the universe works. It was actually surprisingly easy to set everything back up and install Windows. They really dumbed it down from what it used to be like, which is a good thing. Alright, I think we're probably okay to wrap the stream up. Yeah, hopefully that's not the case. It's also surprisingly easy, and I say surprisingly if you have no experience with it. It's really not difficult to put together your own computer. There's some small shit that you can mess up, but I say small and I mean it. It's like maybe your LED light won't hook up properly to your motherboard or something, like you hooked it up wrong. And then when you turn your computer on, the power light isn't on. It doesn't actually affect your computer's performance or anything. Like, you could actually really easily put that shit together. I had my computer built by somebody else, and then I just basically took it apart and put it back together when I was upgrading it. It's really the most obnoxious thing is wiring stuff together and then making it so that the wiring isn't like zip tying wires together, basically. Like that's the part that annoys me the most. But there's nothing that's challenging about it. You gotta get nervous at first. You're like, oh man, this is a computer that I really need in order to do stuff I want to do. But yeah, once you get past the nerves, it's pretty easy to just do. Yeah, like a lot of the parts won't they just won't fit. If you try to make them fit and they won't fit, like, oh, it doesn't go there. Then you move on. You know? It's nothing crazy. At least not in my experience. See, it depends on what you mean by cheaper. Like, yes, it is definitely cheaper. But it's also, like, you could technically spend more money on assembling your own computer. The thing is, if you do it properly, you'll get a way better product. Like, I put my computer together for $1,000 in 2011. And up until last year, I didn't have to change anything about it. I think I added RAM, like 2014 or something, 2015. And then last year, I changed a bunch of shit. So for almost 5 years, or over 5 years, I basically didn't have to change anything about the computer. $1,000 is still $1,000, it's a lot of money. But you can get away with some pretty easy stuff, some pretty cheap builds, and then just upgrade parts as you get more money. And that's the way I'm doing mine. I'm not going to, like, unless I need to for some reason, I'm not going to just build a new computer from scratch. I'm going to keep upgrading parts as time allows and budget allows and as new parts become available. Yeah, more bang for your buck is definitely a good adage in this case. Like, I would say, if you just want to play like remastered and StarCraft 2, and you don't want to worry about like max settings on stuff, you could probably build a computer for like $500 that'll do that. And when you look at like what you would need to buy from scratch, like a $500 pre-built computer that somebody else put together, some guy in a Chinese sweatshop put together, it's just not going to be nearly as good as what you could do for your, on your own. You just buy from Newegg or something. So I would definitely recommend assembling your own PC. Yeah, I mean, the thing is, it doesn't even really matter the quality of the parts that the pre-builts have. Like, that is a concern. But you also have to consider that these probably weren't wired. Like, they're just not wired properly. I've taken a look at the interior of a computer, of a pre-built computer that I used for several years, and it had a lot of problems in those several years. Unlike my computer that I had built myself, that I didn't have, that wasn't a pre-built that I bought. And it's just like the power supply is up top, like not even fastened correctly. Like it could just fall down and wreck half of the fucking shit that's below it. Like, why is it not like, it's like the heaviest piece of equipment in your computer. You're gonna put that above like the hard drive and the GPU and whatever else. Like everything was just put together. I didn't even recognize it at the time, but everything was put together in a really stupid way. And that shit's probably pretty commonplace as far as I can tell from what I've heard. So I would always recommend putting your own shit together. I feel like that's going to be the better way to go pretty much 90 times out of 10. See you later, Electro. Yeah, like some people think that, oh, if I spent this much money on a part and it dies in 2 years, then maybe that's like the expected lifespan. Like, unless you put it together wrong, or you have a pre-built where it was put together wrong, unless the assembly is improper, your computer parts shouldn't be replaced because they go bad or are defective or become defective. They should be replaced because after 5 years or something, you decide to get a new part. You know what I mean? Like, they should be replaced as you replace them, as you make a decision to replace them, not because they fail. That's the main thing. Like, that's why I'm not going to get a Seagate hard drive anymore, because the Seagate failed after 6 years. And some of it was me not realizing that you're supposed to leave a certain amount of space empty. Like, I thought you could just fill it to the brim, and I didn't realize how that would like fragment the drive and fuck everything up. But like, you can talk about that, but in general, like, unless there's like a user error involved or it was put together improperly, the parts should last until you replace them. So like, a fan shouldn't need to be replaced unless it's a cheap product, or again, it was like improperly put together. So in general, I would always like, if you get a product or a brand that repeatedly the equipment fails before you are ready to replace it or feel like replacing it, it's probably best to avoid that brand. But of course, that means that, I mean, it could just be a one-off defective product, which is why I say after a few times. Like, some people have horror stories about AMD products failing them, but I've personally only had NVIDIA products fail me, so I tend to stick with AMD in general. That's based on my experience, though. Yeah, like, some of them have expected lifetimes, like 4 to 5 years. My Seagate probably lasted longer than it might be expected to, but I think if I had used it again, I had used it better, it probably would have lasted longer. But at the same time, I've been told on good authority that when you have a good gaming rig, or like a high-end PC, and you he said that if you have a high-end rig and you have a Seagate hard drive, it's like getting a Mercedes and then putting Chinese tires on it. That was his analogy, which I thought was kind of humorous, but apparently accurate. So just in general, I'm going to avoid the Seagate brand. Hi, Vertigo. I'm making a small campaign about Kerrigan, which landed on the smallest planet and having become close to Earth. Is it like after Brood War? Is she a Zerg? Zerg here?
Eat them.
Also, welcome, Ruffle. Yeah, dust management is something that I tend to be lazy about. It's generally a good idea to dust your shit. Don't forget. Yeah, like, isn't it recommended to have like a 256 SSD, a 256 gigabyte SSD, and then do like install the operating system and whatever programs you most commonly run on the SSD itself, so that those run faster? It costs $4,000 to fire this weapon. Is that a quote? I feel like That's from something. Ah. Hat Fortress 2. Yeah, they're not cheap, but they're not super expensive either. Like, for storage, I imagine you would probably spend under $200 now. Like, or around $200 to get an SSD and an HDD. But the amount of money you're going to be spending on a processor is probably going to be like in the 300, 350 range if you want a good processor. Or like an average processor or something. Maybe that's not true. Maybe that is a higher end than I'm thinking. But I've also seen like $9,000 prices for processors, so I don't really know what to think. Seems like a retarded fucking industry to try and get into price-wise. 480 gigabyte Kingston. I was actually going to get a 128 gigabyte Kingston, but it was going to take like 2 months to ship because it was coming from fucking China or something. So I decided to get that I would get it from a different supplier. Yeah, Apple is absurd with their shit. I have an i7 KB Lake and it's been pretty good so far. You know what's really funny? So I was idling at 80 degrees Celsius with my i7 and I thought that this was fucking normal. Look at this now. Now that I've got proper ventilation on this fucking thing, look at the temps now. This is while I'm streaming. One of the most CPU-intensive things to do. Obviously, I'm not like playing a game or anything. It would spike to 100 degrees Celsius when I opened fucking Chrome. I was just thinking like, oh yeah, that's fine. It's totally reasonable. Now it's down to fucking 30 degrees. Just retarded. I can't believe I was, oh yeah. See, the thing is I Googled that and everybody else was like, yeah, this is happening to me, but everything's running fine, so I guess it's okay. And Intel themselves came out and were like, these numbers are expected. So I was like, oh, I guess that's just how it's supposed to be. No, what must have happened is that nobody who buys the i7 KB Lake has proper ventilation in their fucking systems, I guess, because that's so retarded. Yeah, the i7 throttles itself after 100 degrees, so it won't go over 100 degrees unless you fucking break it or something. That's how it's been explained to me anyways. What map should you make? I don't know. Is River of Blood the mission of your campaign, or is that Homecoming? Because I haven't even heard about Homecoming. I don't know anything about it. You should try and make like another mission in your campaign. Yeah, the i7 just stops itself. It like slows itself down. I think if it ever got to the point where it was 110 degrees, it would just crash your computer. But at 100 degrees Celsius, it throttles itself, so it never goes over. I've never seen it go over 100 degrees Celsius. So it will never do that. Oh, I see, Alex. That makes sense. Alex, too. Hey, Bailiff. Oh, welcome.
100 degrees Celsius, you could boil water.
Yeah, I could boil water. How retarded would that be? If I took the heatsink off of my fucking laptop, or my laptop, Jesus Christ, CR12's got me saying laptop. If I took my heatsink off of my processor and then just put a pot of water on top of it, that would be hilarious. Oh, cool. Are you going to use a mod for it, or is it just going to be unmodded? The mod tag is like He's in a few custom campaigns, but he's never seen, really. He's a very underused hero.
Yeah, we Montag was just for create the best pirate hero. Well, the two best pirate heroes.
Ahmed and his clone, Ahmed.
You.
Yeah. I am a pirate. Okay. It's probably time I start placing fucking mineral matches in this map. What do you guys think?
This map seems so abstract right now.
What did you say about my map? What did you call me?
This map seems so abstract right now. Where could bases go?
I don't know, I'll just make it. I will bases into existence. Yeah, so while I was gone on my mystical journey to reassemble my computer, I heard that Blizzard actually did write Insurrection. Or some Blizzard employee wrote it, I guess. That's pretty impressive. Hoop Thrower saying big if true reminded me. Congratulations, Hoop Thrower, you reminded me.
So I'm looking to XT4, and the thing they did with the nuclear silo system was retarded shit I've seen.
Oh yeah, because what they do is they have them moved there because they're limited. Their editor was so limited they couldn't just place nuclear silos, I guess. Is that right? Am I remembering that right? They're like lined up on the right side of the map.
You can place them, but you can't give them to players. They are always neutral. So there's a bunch of CCs with nuclear silos, and the CCs are removed. Silos moved.
What a fucking disaster Blizzard is. Anybody watch any good shows on Netflix later, or in general? I started watching, while I was, basically all I could do besides work was watch Netflix while I waited for this hard drive to arrive. And this computer shit to sort itself out. So I spent a lot of time on Netflix. I watched The Punisher. I finished The Punisher. I watched Dark, which is a really cool show. From what I hear, it's like a better, more mature version of Stranger Things, but I was never interested in Stranger Things, so I didn't watch it, so I don't know if that's accurate or not. And I started watching Frontier, which is a show about, like, it's set in, like, the 1600s, about the HBC, the something Bay Company, and they're, like, fur trading, and how they would just, like, raise armies, and, like, corporations would just have an entire army, basically. It's sort of interesting in its premise, but I wasn't able to actually get invested in it in the same way that I was able to get invested in Dark. The Hudson's Bay Company, that's it, thanks you. Yeah, so there's like a couple of different things that are related to that, but I wasn't able to, again, I didn't find it compelling enough the way that they presented the characters and such. I feel like there's some missed opportunities there. I can't quite put my finger on it. But in general, I just feel like, you know, sort of meh. You know, it's not super exciting in general. Oh, you're just now getting into Breaking Bad? Holy shit. You really missed the boat on that one. That's a good one, though. starving to get the latest iPhone. Yeah, like Hoop Thrower said, that's pretty common actually. I don't know about starving, but here in America, a lot of like left-leaning college students will like sit there and I mean, this is not really actually related at all, I guess, but sort of it is. It's sort of it. I'll run with it. Basically, they sit there and they protest and talk about how, like, oh, as long as poor people exist or whatever, we're too poor to afford stuff because or whatever. But they're like, we can't feed ourselves. But they buy like $300 pairs of boots and shit, and like obviously all have the latest smartphones. And they're in college, so they have money, presumably. I don't know. Doesn't really matter. I feel like, in general, there will always be people who are willing to eat ramen noodles all the time if that means that they can get a new iPhone or something. Yeah, I mean, if you get student loans, it's a bit of a different story, but a lot of these are like Tufts University, not Tufts. It's like those Ivy League schools. Where you know, like, they have money. People who complain about privilege whilst being privileged. I don't know, it's unfortunate that there's so many people who are, like, ideologically focused on and zeroed in on like controlling thought and speech and stuff. It feels like, again, sort of like a missed opportunity in a sense. Yeah, that's what I'm talking about. Bailiff. It's important to recognize, I think, intellectual dishonesty, regardless of your political point of view or whatever. And unfortunately, that recognition doesn't really happen in too many places. It comes down to people just not really... People don't like criticism. They don't like to grow. At least this is what I feel like. I feel like a lot of people just don't want to put in the work to better themselves, so when their flaws are exposed by somebody who's telling them, like, oh, you... like, criticizing them, they call it, like, harassment or whatever. Yeah, we have scholarships in scholarship programs in the U.S. At least I think we do. We had them when I graduated high school back in 2012. I just didn't apply myself in high school. I was one of those kids who was like, felt too entitled by the fact that I don't know, I've never taken an IQ test, so I don't know if this is actually true or not. If I actually have a noteworthy IQ. But one of the things that I would constantly think is like, oh, this is boring me. This is not, I don't feel interested enough to apply myself, so I'm just going to get like D's in this class because I'm not going to do any of the assignments. It wasn't like I tried to do the assignments and got poor grades. If I actually bothered to do any of them, I would have passed with like I could coast not really trying and get like a B or a B plus or something probably. I don't even remember what the fuck. Grading systems are dumb anyways. But I was a very lazy kid. I'm still pretty lazy in general. I don't really apply myself, or I don't have a lot of discipline. And especially back then, I couldn't rationalize putting effort into that when I would rather be making like campaigns or something in Uruguay, or working on some creative endeavor that I was interested in. Like I could write really, really long fucking like game guides to shit. Like I could conceptualize entire ideas for new games, right? I could write like really long diatribes in Word, Microsoft Word, about like planning out a new game or something like that. And my mother would be like, "You can do that, but you can't write like a 5-paragraph essay for school." I'm like, "Yeah, that's fucking boring. I don't want to do that." And I could never get past the "that's fucking boring" thing. Whereas now it's like, holy shit, why didn't I write some more essays? Well, I think the problem with the right versus left thing is that it's insane that we only have 2 schools of thought that are really seriously considered as presidential candidates, for example. We don't have very many independent candidates or representatives in, like, Congress or the House, right? There's, like, very few independent senators or independent representatives and independent state representatives. So there's like a big issue there is like we only really accept 2 different positions, 2 different sides, whereas like you'd think there would be like several different parties, like a Libertarian Party would be separate from the Republican Party, and then you'd have like a Liberal Party that's separate from the Democratic Party. I don't know, like something like that. That would make sense if there was like 5 or 10 different fucking parties of different agendas, all with different agendas and different focuses and different ideas on how to fix the country. Like that's what people have to realize is that if you ignore the fact that there's like fiscal corruption with corporations buying politicians, if you ignore that, which is really hard to ignore, and you just consider the idea that maybe everybody who's running for office just has a different idea of how to fix the country's problems and make the country better than the other person who's running, like then we can all sort of use that as common ground. But unfortunately, everybody wants to be really fucking antagonistic, it seems like. They all want to, like, say, oh, it's not that I have a better idea, it's that I have the only idea. The only idea worth considering. And everybody who doesn't agree with me, it's not just that we don't come to an agreement on it. It's like a lot of people are a lot more abrasive than that. And go towards a superficial attack ad hominem or something, as opposed to trying to explain the differences between the philosophies and figure out which one's better that way. Like the free exchange of ideas on the open marketplace of ideas, that doesn't seem to exist as much anymore. People just want to attack each other if there's any criticism levied against them. I don't know, I think our leftist party is pretty fucking far left. Like, a lot of people firmly believe that socialism or communism would be a good move for the US. But I don't think that's right at all. I don't think it's correct. I also don't think it's right-leaning, politically. And yeah, 40 kids per classroom is pretty fucking crazy. I think it's crazy that Antifa was allowed to go for as long as they, like, crazy that Antifa was allowed to do what they were allowed to do for so long. Black Lives Matter allowed to just fucking attack, like, destroy places. Like those riots in, it was the race riots in, it's crazy, say race riot in fucking 2018, 2017, 2016, whenever this happened. It was, that one of those infamous cases of a cop shooting a young black man. I think it was I don't remember if he was a teenager or like in his early 20s. I can't remember his fucking name. This happened in like way long ago, like 2014 probably. But maybe it's Deval Patrick's like an ex-governor of my state. That's not it. But who the fuck is it? What the fuck is the goddamn... Well, there's like the horseshoe theory, where it's like at the far extremes of the spectrum, on the left and the right, they're close. Those extremists, those extreme conservatives and extreme liberals, are closer to each other than the center, than they are to the center. You know, the horseshoe theory. It's okay to be white. What a fucking... That was really... I thought that was really funny that it triggered so many people when that came out. The "it's okay to be white" thing. Very funny. I think identitarian-focused politics are just a real bad thing to have, regardless of your political positions or which party you swear allegiance to. I think it runs so fucking counter to the core position of egalitarianism or a meritocracy, which I think the United States should be. A meritocracy. I think that's the way to go. I think a capitalist meritocracy would be the best economic, like the best marriage between a quality. Like I think that you should have to some extent, you should have some regulation. But I don't think that it needs to be as much as we currently have in some industries. I mean, I'm not a fucking economist, but in general, I think capitalism gets most of its shit right. And in general, I think a meritocracy is the best way to do things. That's where you're going to have the most upward mobility when you combine those two schools of thought, one for economics and one for a society. But if you're just going to say that some people we get to be treated differently because of their identity, aka gender, race, fucking religion, whatever, that seems to run counter to the idea of a meritocracy. And egalitarianism, where you're trying to treat everybody as an individual based on their own accomplishments, based on their own merits. Hence meritocracy. See, I think that regulation's a dangerous thing. I also think that raising taxes is pretty dangerous as well, because you just give the government more money when, realistically speaking, the budget that we currently have based on the tax influx that we had, nobody talks about this. The amount of money that the government gets now is being mishandled. That's a problem. So you don't just give them more money if they're being shitty with the money we are already giving them, you know? I don't really care where the fucking money comes from at that point, because they're already doing the incorrect thing with the money we're already giving them. So it just seems foolish to me to even attempt that. Yeah, well, there is a fairly large disconnect, I think, between. Oh God, I don't even remember what the colors were for these mirrors. I think the main guy was red or something. Hold on, I have the screenshot here. Oh, I made a custom player color. Well, that should still be in the mod, actually. It replaces the green color? Yeah, Disney owns a lot of entertainment. There's really not very many options for us to choose from with ISPs. I don't think net neutrality being repealed will affect that, even if the vote does go through. I also think people freak the fuck out about shit like net neutrality. They go completely bananas. They become fucking apes. They complete monkeys, just screeching at the top of their lungs. Yet, if we don't experiment with this shit, I don't know what the hell people think is gonna happen. So I say fucking let's see what happens without net neutrality. And then when we have a different president, who will probably be Democratic anyways, because that's the way it works, is like it just bounces back and forth. Just like we had Bush, and then we had Obama, and now we have Trump, and then we're gonna have fucking, I don't know, Sanders, who knows? Who knows who we're gonna have? I don't know, it just seems really foolish to freak out like that. I'm sure the next Democratic president is just going to be like, well, let's put net neutrality back. Or it might even go back in fucking Trump's presidency, you know? I don't see why everybody freaks out. It's like, I don't think life's going to get incredibly shitty in the 2 and change years that we have left in Trump's first term. So if you're really worried about it, I'm sure net neutrality will be back if it makes life miserable for Americans. Because it's already so fucking dangerous to even think to bring. It's sort of like climate change. How did it get to this point where you can't even say, show me the evidence about climate change without being labeled fucking anti-science by the party that thinks that there are 2,000 genders and that a man can just become a woman overnight and back again in the next hour if they feel like it. Okay. But, anyways, it's the same thing about net neutrality. If you come onto an internet forum, or any discussion forum, and you say, do we know that repealing net neutrality is 100% a bad thing? People will be like, what the fuck? You some kind of fucking corporate shill, you piece of shit! You anti-science motherfucker! Don't you like your rights to use the internet? Like, okay, man. I was just asking a question. I think we could all use better internet. I think we could all use internet of the Korean level. But the government also paid for that infrastructure to be set, and I'm sure there's so many problems with the Korean economic state and the way that corporations control almost everything over there. So it's not even like corporations. It's like the Yule Ball shit that goes on there. It's like this really weird political thing that's involved with their shit. I don't fully understand it. I don't even fully understand my own country's economic state, so I'm not going to pretend to understand another one's, but just say it's a dangerous time to be alive. I don't have any evidence that net neutrality works better than not net neutrality. I think we need to have a test to see where it goes now that it's been repealed, if it even fucking gets repealed. I don't think it will. I think people are just being insane. But, well, the thing is, the planet's climate goes in very weird ways. Like, okay. There was supposed to be a small ice age, like a miniature ice age, back in like 2011 or something. And there wasn't. And that's a good thing. So I don't even give a shit about climate change being real. I think that we are impacting the environment. I don't think it's necessarily a bad thing. It's like GMOs. Well, no shit, we impact the way our food is grown. If we didn't, then we wouldn't be able to have 24/7 around-the-clock farms because winter would destroy the crops, or bugs would ruin everything. So of course we change the way that, like, reality exists, nature exists around us. It's not always a bad thing. If that ice age came, we would be fucked. We would maybe be in a much worse position. I think it's a good thing that that ice age didn't happen, that we stymied the effects of the Earth's natural way of existing. I don't think that oil spills are good, or that greenhouse gases are the best thing in the world, or that factory farming that has a lot of cows everywhere that release a lot of methane because they fart and then they die is a good thing either. But I also don't think it's going to end the world. It's like, okay, so about the climate change shit, I have a really good point that I sampled from Milo Yiannopoulos. Everything comes at a cost. You want to be able to watch me stream, I want to be able to stream. Well, we need power lines, we need infrastructure, we need all of this stuff that fuels this this world that we live in, where we can tune in to the internet and watch people do their shit and rant about politics when they're supposed to be making a map. Like, that has, if you want that reality, if you want an existence where that is possible, then it comes at a cost, and that cost may very well be a worse ecosystem for some animals, or a planet that goes closer to not being as, you know, it gets less hospitable, whatever you want to say. That climate change is the cost of it, is one of the costs, you know? Yeah, I'm just using the streaming as a good extreme example. Extreme. Like, if we want to have the infrastructure that we currently have, and we do, because there's never been a better time to be a human being, to be alive on the planet, than now, than tomorrow, than the day after. Like, life is always getting better, and it's the best time to be alive right now. It's the weirdest time, as Joe Rogan says, but it's also the best time. I mean, the Earth can still support more humans. I don't remember what the actual factor is. We're not at, like, people say overcrowding or overpopulation is a bad thing. There's, like, still a large number of the Earth that isn't settled. And it's not all because it's inhospitable or whatever. And even if it is currently inhospitable, it can be terraformed to some degree. We have the technology to do that now. So eventually, when space does become a problem, we'll just have to put resources into making that space not become an issue. Either by colonizing Mars, or whatever the case may be. I don't think the fate of the human race is that necessarily that grim, CR12. I think we can probably last quite a while. It doesn't. There's things we can do in the here and now as a species to obviously advance the overall whatever the lifespan of the human race. We can extend that as a race right now. But if we don't work to do that and instead get caught up in petty shit like we are right now, I don't think that still, like, eventually we can still get off our asses and do something productive that will ensure the a future for the human race. Like, it's not like we're completely out of options or even close to that point. I think we're good for a while. We can fuck off for a while if we so desire, and that seems to be the case. Well, yeah, because Antarctica is a lot of ice that will eventually melt, but it's also mountainous, right? Like, there's terrain underneath that ice and snow. Like, it's not just frozen water floating in a fucking gigantic iceberg as a continent. So, yeah, eventually that will become livable. Okay. That's crazy. I mean, eventually, honestly, another thing that we can do is probably go fucking Bioshock and just construct, like, underwater living spaces, too. I mean, we know... I don't know if this is still true, but for a while, it was a good talking point to say to your friends to act cool and like you knew a lot about science, to say that the human race as a general collective has less knowledge about our oceans than we do about space. That might still be true, that might never have been true, I don't fucking know. But the oceans are mostly completely not utilized right now, more or less. Sometimes we use it for power with the oceans and like the waves. We obviously fish, but in general, there's like space that can also be terraformed. I mean, obviously, you look at Boston, pretty close to where I live. That's an example of, most of that was fucking water, and we turned it into fucking a city above water. Yeah, I mean, us not dying as a species does hinge upon the idea that we have to not use nuclear weapons. I mean, we're past nuclear weapons now. I mean, not North Korea, but fucking the U.S. Pretty sure U.S. and Russia have, like, I think it's a neutron bomb that kills all the humans but leaves the infrastructure intact. Like, people don't think about that. Not many people have thought about, like, the weapons that we've invented lately. We don't even need to fucking blow up cities. We can just kill all the humans. Yeah, I mean, if we get to the point where we're still alive by the time that our galaxy would collide with one of the other neighboring galaxies, that's like trillions of years away, I'm pretty sure. So if we've lived that long, I'm sure we've ascended to the point where we're good to go. We're a galactic civilization at that point. Although I don't know about our solar system, if that probably has a shorter shelf life than our galaxy as a whole. Yeah, 5 billion years. So our solar system has lower shelf life by a fair margin, but that's still incredible. We can't comprehend how far away that is. Because it's so many of our lifetimes away. that we couldn't ever imagine how much time that would take. It might as well be the fucking goofy little meter in StarCraft 2's Legacy of the Void holdout mission, the first one, because there's like 10, where you are defending the Zelnaga Temple from Amon's hybrid and Zerg. And it just says like 579,264,147 trillion with 579,000,000,000,147,000 Zerg. It just says that in your front. Like it's how worthless us trying to comprehend 5 billion years. It's so fucking so much. Crazy. Yeah, that seems like probably the most realistic future for any civilization. We got a long way to go before we're at that stage. Who has those classifications for a civilization? It's like a stage 1 civilization is they can harness the power of their planet, and a stage 2 civilization is that they can harvest the power from their sun, their star, their home star, which would be Sol, our sun. And then the stage 3 is a galactic one, where they can harvest the power of an entire galaxy, or something like that. Like, you create a Dyson sphere for stage 2, and I forget what the fuck you do for 1 or 2. Yeah, it's that, Ovidio. What was the Oh yeah, we went down to like, it was like 2,000 human beings or something at one point, is what they're saying, after like one of those volcanoes erupted. Same could happen if Yellowstone blows, from what I remember hearing. This is all hearsay, I'm not a scientist. But I'm pretty sure that all happened, and it could happen with Yellowstone. Man, you guys are talking about some crazy shit. Yeah, shit like this has always been interesting to me. I used to love talking about black holes and how crazy it was as a concept. All right. I'm going to record the video that I need to record for tomorrow and then get some sleep. But I really enjoyed this stream and conversing with you guys. It's a lot of fun. Hopefully everybody's enjoying themselves. And yeah, I guess I'll just talk to you guys later on. I don't know when my next stream will be. My agenda video sort of explains that, but for those of you who are, I mean, I could just basically explain what I said in there now. The streams will be around 5:30 Eastern Standard Time every Saturday. We'll have a stream like this where I just work on something that you guys suggest. And then after that, any other streams I do will just be me streaming while working on something else, like Hydra or in Consummate's 2018 update or something like that. And yeah, we'll return to regularly scheduled programming tomorrow. But yeah, thanks for hanging out with me, guys. I will catch you guys later on. Big smooches.